The Ford Maverick has been one of my absolute favorite vehicles to review over the last few years. In fact, I think it's been one of your favorite vehicles to read up on or watch videos on, because on Motor Illustrated's YouTube channel, it is one of the most viewed vehicles. And it really started off with my first walk around of this vehicle. Is it over 3 years ago at this point? My goodness, my memory and time flies. Yes, the memory flies as well. And the reasons for this are very, very simple. At the very least, at first, the Maverick was the return of the affordable Ranger. The inexpensive way to get around in a vehicle that was fun, relatively reliable, utilitarian, capable, and all of the above. And at a starting price in the US, at least of under $20,000, it was the rebirth of the Ranger we all remember from the 80s and 90s. Though that did not last very, very long. I'll give you an idea of the pricing, as I always do in my video reviews, and you will quickly understand that those days are well behind us. One of the reasons why that could be explained today in 2025 is, well, the Maverick is built in Mexico. So this may apply a little bit more to the US market, more so than the Canadian market. But even so, it's not that inexpensive anymore. But, it's still an absolutely fabulous and fantastical vehicle to do everything in. So far this week, I've picked up a new set of wheels, which fits perfectly in the smallish bed. I went to what we call EcoCentre, which is kind of like the city dump, to bring some building materials that I, well, no longer wanted. It'll do it all. It'll just absolutely do it all. And this particular version will do even things that would normally not be associated with this, at least out of the box. Yes, this is the 2025 Ford Maverick Lobo. And from the second, almost 1 year ago, I believe in August of 2024, when they first revealed this vehicle, I think the excitement in the small truck, even small car communities was palpable. At least I know I was really excited, and well, I will tell you, I'm not disappointed. Maybe I expected too much in some regards and was a little bit disappointed in other regards. I can tell you right now, one of the reasons is because I got to drive the Tremor version of the Maverick about 1.5 years ago, something like that. And it just, for the styling, for the capability, for the performance, for absolutely everything. So I wanted as much, but it's not the same. It's the same, but it's not the same. Anyhow, in the following video, as I like to do, we will do a number of laps of this Oxford White 2025 Ford Maverick Lobo. I'll tell you about the pricing. Hang on. This might be small, but the price is not. Though nothing is cheap anymore. And then we're going to go for a drive that is both entertaining and just mild, just a little mildly annoying. Aha, I can't speak anymore. Mildly annoying. If you're still there, well, please hang on. Hang in there, if you don't mind. So as you can very well see, the front end of the Maverick is very different. And I distinctly recall saying that I know exactly where the updates are going to come when they facelift the vehicle. And well, there's the very vast majority. And compared to the the first generation, which had oversized headlights, just looked kind of ridiculous. This is far more put together visually. This obviously is the Lobo, so it has some slight differences. As such, let us carry on. Base XL with the 2.5 liter hybrid engine in the US starts at $28,145. Only a couple of years ago, it was about $8,150 cheaper than that. Yeah, that's a big load of money. The top trim, which is the Tremor, $40,995. In Canada, the XL, base XL, again with the hybrid 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine, front wheel drive, 17-inch steel wheels, still has a 13.2-inch touchscreen display, which is pretty amazing, and an 8-inch digital instrument cluster, and so on and so forth. Begins at $34,600. Not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. And the trimmer itself, well, begins at $48,100. This, as I said, is well, as you can plainly see, now the wheels are the absolute most biggest dead giveaway of what model Maverick this is. And it is priced in the US, just so you know, $35,930, and in Canada it starts at $41,900. Yeah. So as soon as you step into the Lobo, you do get the 2-liter turbocharged EcoBoost engine as standard, all-wheel drive as well. These 19-inch turbofan wheels. The unique grille, I mean, the shape per se is the same with all the other Mavericks. It's just the way, well, you know, the grille's design, and then a few other add-ons to make it look a little sportier. It's also lower to the ground, by the way. It works out to about 1 centimeter lower in the front and about 2 centimeters and change in the back. I see room for more dropping, if you ask me. By the way, this thing is about 5.1 meters long. It's small, but it really isn't that small. I mean, it's essentially the same length as an EV9, right? Big. Anyway, my tester, as I said, is Oxford White. The only other color I think is, well, acceptable on this is Velocity Blue, the black and the gray. I don't know, it's a waste of contrast in my opinion. You know, the black trims and the black wheels. Also, there are optional wheels, which I think are some silly amount, like under $200, but if you don't get the turbo fans, just don't get the Lobo. My tester has the 702A package, which includes the moonroof, which you don't really need, but there's a bunch of other things it also includes. By the way, the black roof is standard, which you don't really need, but it does have heated seats, heated steering wheel, it has the B&O audio system, which is, I guess, nice, navigation, a few other things. The package itself is a whopping $6,000. There's a lot more to it, but you know, in the name of expediency, given that my videos can be a little bit long. So as it sits before you, my friends, this Maverick Lobo is $47,900. Just if you add in freight prep and other fees, you're over $50,000 for a small-ish pickup. It's a fantastic pickup. I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I'll keep saying it some more, but ouch. The bed, well, we all know about the bed now. It's really not that deep, or it's easily accessible. See how I can just reach over, drop all kinds of things in there. There are a lot of various convenient add-ons. You can get a bed extender. It's perfect for, say, a guy like me, because as I said, I had the 4 wheels, I had plaster up to here. It just was fantastic. Here's just one quick shot of the Lobo logo. I love how it's black. I like that. I'll give it that. Now, there isn't much new to say on the inside. I mean, oh yeah, well, this is specific to the Lobo itself, the contrast stitching, which I believe that is Velocity Blue actually, and the material itself. But everything else is very Maverick. I mean, the materials look good, a little bit better looking to the eye than to the touch. I English speak good, I promise. Little accents. Oh, it looks like my kids took the cup holders away. I don't know where they put. Oh, they're in there, in the pocket. It's kind of neat. It's just a little add-on that slides in the slot. That was one of the cool things when they introduced the Maverick. But yeah, these are some of the most ergonomic handles ever existing in the world of time. This is kind of what I mean. You know, it looks good from far, but this is very typical Ford interiors, which are like, you know, acceptable. Let's put it that way. But the bins are great. The seats themselves are not entirely that comfortable, but at least you have power lumbar support, so we'll give them points for that. Lobo and the seat back. The interior overall, just in the front, is very nice. So let's start it up. Engine start down here. We will give points for the relatively accessible buttons here. Towing, no, we're not going to tow. But you do have, you know, some rapid access. You know, change the channel, you want the cameras, defrost, all the above, and your volume button. And then here's your great 13-inch display. which is fairly easy to use. Your home button, Apple CarPlay shows up in all of these menus. It's fairly responsive, and the screen is nice and low, nice and big. And I love the horizontal versus the vertical, such as in the Mach-E, for example, because I guess that opens up some space for the vents, which are well positioned. There's your 8-inch digital IP, slightly configurable. It's actually quite nice. I'll show you this now. So you see mode. Yeah, those are the drive modes. So as you toggle to one extremity, as we go, so we begin off, it's slippery. It's a little bit slow to work. Eco is what made me realize something that I've wondered the moment I stepped into the vehicle. I'll tell you more when we get off and drive off, I mean. So your normal, your sport, tow haul, and unique to the Lobo is the Lobo mode for those who like to track their small pickups. It's actually kind of cool. Not that I've tracked it, unfortunately, no opportunities to do so, but I think we've seen enough as far as that's concerned. I mean, again, the materials, they look good from far. Visibility itself, not that bad at all until you come to down here, but you're kind of sitting square, and the windscreen isn't very raked. It's not entirely upright either, so you can work your way around this mild blind spot, and we will end it there and drive off. I didn't say anything or even show it to you in the preceding portion of the video, but the rotary shifter in Ford vehicles and other Stellantis products are just buzzkills. They're terrible, cheap designs that should be killed with fire, each and every last one of them. Every 3-point turn that I might do turns into into park when I go into reverse from drive. Wow, it's a horrible nightmare as far as I'm concerned. But otherwise, everything else, or nearly, with the Maverick Lobo is kind of fun. I think I'm in normal. So when I first picked up the vehicle, I heard the noise. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's got a deepish bellow to it. And I immediately realized that it was fake and digitized, because in Eco, now there's traffic up ahead, but the noise is not there. You can't, or at least I couldn't find a way to individually shut it off, but at least you can go in Eco mode and calm it down. But the real noises, though, are from the turbocharger and the intake, where you can actually hear the surrounding air being, well, how can I put it? What's the word? Manhandled into and out of the engine. It's kind of fun. Speaking of the engine, I think I kind of hinted at it. The standard for the Lobo and Tremor is the turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, which puts out 250 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. And in every small vehicle that engine ends up in, say the Bronco Sport or the Escape or this, they turn it into little road rockets. Now, Ford says you can average about 9.7 liters per 100 kilometers with this, but maybe not in my case, because I am enjoying it far too much. And just so you know, the Lobo mode, what it does is kind of just tightens everything up. But the suspension is already sport tuned, therefore nothing really changes as far as that's concerned. But overall, the ride quality is really not that bad. And as I always love to experience, when it was loaded with a few 100 pounds worth of wheels and a few extra 100 pounds worth of stuff being dropped off at City Dump, the ride quality actually improved. There's one very specific thing about the Lobo, other than the drive mode, is that it has a 7-speed direct shift transmission, which is not a dual clutch box. It is, in fact, just an 8-speed automatic transmission that's had a cross drawn on the second gear. Therefore, it actually has only 7 operating gears. Whether it's sharper, faster, outside of the drive modes, I can't really tell. It's been a little bit too long since I last drove the Maverick. But for all intents and purposes, the transmission actually works quite well. I have nothing to say. On the floor, and the kickdown is fairly quick and rapid. Steering is actually quite nice. Now, the all-wheel drive system with this also features a rear diff that has actual torque vectoring with a dual clutch setup. So it's quite fun when you're in the turn and you're kind of pushing it. Unfortunately, I will be stuck behind the Elantra because this is one of my first favorite off-ramps. But the sad part that I've noticed, even in sport mode, not Lobo, but in sport mode, the all-wheel drive system takes a mild fraction of a second to actually kick in. So when you have some steering input already dialed in and you want to get on the throttle, it happens quite often that the front wheels will spin before the rear end kicks in. But when properly loaded and driving, then everything is fine, everything is dandy. Another thing that the Lobo has that the others don't have, the other Mavericks, is 2-piston Ford Focus ST, the Euro version, front calipers. So braking power is really good as well, and is serving me properly as well, I should say. All in all, the only thing which is not a surprise is the ride is a little bit stiffer than I would like it to be. But it's a Lobo, so that point is completely and utterly moot. I bring it up because, as I said earlier, the Tremor with its adapted suspension is comfortable, is forgiving, but it really gives very little away as far as handling is concerned in normal mode, in normal driving conditions. If you're going to actually, do some lapping or whatever, timed laps, you want the Lobo with the far more appropriate 19-inch street tires as opposed to what you get in a Tremor. In the segment, there's essentially nothing like the Maverick. How long that will remain is difficult to say, but what can be said with assurance is that the Santa Cruz does not come close. The Ranger might be its biggest adversary, and then the Tacoma, but they are aimed at same but different groups. And the Ridgeline again kind of hovers and all of that. And the reason why most of these models come up is because, well, the Maverick isn't cheap anymore at all, not even remotely inexpensive. But it is insanely fun, and I love it. I would not get a Lobo. I would stick to a Tremor if I was going to spend nearly $50,000, or get an all-wheel drive hybrid, which is a new thing for 2025, in an XLT trim. Sadly, you can't get the FX4 off-road package with that powertrain, but I think I would survive. And, well, that's it.